Today we're going to be going over Leetcode problem number 35, search insert position. This problem states, given a sorted array of distinct integers and a target value, return the index if the target is found. If not, return the index where it would be if it were inserted in order. And then it wants the solution in O log n time. I'm going to go over two, a less optimized one, so O of n time, and then I'll also do a O log n time one. I'll put timestamps so you could go straight to the O log n if you would like. Okay, so for the O of n solution, the reason it's going to be O of n is we're just going to do one for loop, and the worst case scenario is we're going to go through every single number in this array, and that's why it's O of n. So for this solution, let's look at the scenarios and what we need to return. So if we find that the target is in the array, we're going to return that position. So the target is 5, so we're going to go in here and go 0, 1, 2. And at position 2, we see that there's a 5, which is our target, so we're going to return 2. Now, example 2 states that if we find a number between two numbers, we're going to return the position of the greater number. So the target is 2, that's going to be between 1 and 3. So we're going to go to 1. We're not going to hit that one because that's position 0, and 1 is less than 2. So we're going to go to 3 and see that 3 is greater than 2. So what we're going to do is we're going to return that one. So we're going to say position 1, that's going to be our output. And then for the final example, the target is 7. And if we look at our array, the greatest number in the array is 6. So we're going to return the length of the array because the length of the array is going to count from 1, 2, 3, 4. So whenever we return the length, it's going to return 4, which is what we want because this is position 0, 1, 2, 3. So then fourth position would be our greater number. So let's go ahead and code that. We're going to do a for loop. Let I equal 0. I is going to be less than nums.length because worst case scenario we go through the entire loop. So then we're going to increment I here. And then in here we're going to do an if statement, and all this is going to have is the nums, and then we're going to look at the position I, and if let's say num I for the first one is going to hit position 0, so we're looking at this number. So if that number is equal to target, then we will return I. And then also, if the nums of I is greater than the target, we still want to return I, right? So if 3 for this scenario here, let's say 3 is greater than our target, we will return that position of 3, right? So 0, 1, we return that 1. And then for this final one, all we want to do is if we don't ever hit this if statement in here, we're going to break out of that and return nums.length. So we can submit this. Oh, there's probably just a error right here. We just need to do this condition or this condition. Let's try that again. Okay, so the passed, we can submit that. And that's the O of n solution. Next we'll do the O log n. Okay, so now we're going to go through the log n solution. I don't think the Leetcode one really demonstrates how powerful it is, so I created my own examples here. So we're going to take these arrays and we'll go through them and see how this solution is going to work. I elongated the array here just so we can add our pointers here, as you'll see in a minute. So how this is going to work is we're going to have a starting pointer, a end pointer, and a middle pointer. So the middle pointer was derived by doing start plus end divided by 2. So the start plus end is 9, divide that by 2, we get 4.5, and then we're going to take the floor of the number if it's a decimal. So it comes out to 4. So that's why we're at this position, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's why we have our middle here. So for example 1, the target's 8. If our middle number, we can have a condition saying if middle equals exactly target, then we can just return our middle number, which is 4, and that will get us our answer. But let's go to example 2 now and see that we need a target of 16. So we got to get between these two. How we're going to do that is we got our pointers and we got our middle. So with the middle, we're going to say, is the middle number 8 greater than or less than 16? 8 is going to be less than 16. So we now know everything below this is not going to be used to help find our target. So we're going to take our start, we're going to move it to the middle here, and then we're going to do that same formula of 9 plus 4, so we get 13, and then we're going to do 13 divided by 2, that's going to give us 6.5. So then we're going to take the floor of that, so we're going to put 6 here. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so 14. So now this is what we have. And we're going to go through that again. We're going to say, is the middle number greater than or less than 16? And in this case, it is less than 16. So we're going to take our start again. We're going to set that value to the 6. And then we're going to take that middle and we're going to derive it again. 9 plus 6 is 15. 15 divided by 2, that's 7.5. So we're just going to make this 7 because we're taking that floor value. Okay, so now we're here. So now we say, is the middle greater than or less than 16? And we see 20 is greater than 16. So now we don't care about anything above it. So we're going to take this end value, plug it in here, and then now you can see these two are very close together. They're just one off. So this is going to symbolize that we've kind of found where we want to be. So now we can break through the loop since these are right next to each other. And we can say 16 wants to go between these two numbers. So we will just return the end value, which is now sitting at 7. And that's going to be our output here. And that's our answer, is 7. So now that you've seen this example, you can go ahead and try to code this, but I will do a coding example for the problem now. Okay, so now we could go ahead and code in the O log n solution. So like we said, we're going to have to start by making 3 variables. We're going to make the starting pointer. We're going to make the end pointer. We're going to set that equal to nums.length minus 1. The reason we're doing minus 1 is because if we were to do just nums.length, it would give us 4, since it's 1, 2, 3, 4 in here. But we want to start at this position, which is 0, 1, 2, 3. So doing the minus 1 gives us the 3 that we want to start at. And then we have to do a middle number. So let's say middle equals, and then we said we would do math floor of everything, and then we would do the start plus the end, divide that by 2. Okay. So now with those made, we can do a for loop. Let I equal 0. Give it the nums.length. And then we would increment I. Now, we'll never actually go through the full nums.length. I'm just setting that there just so we have a number that it's a higher number rather than a lower number. So we'll always have enough loops to actually find what we need. But like we said before, if the start plus 1 equals the end number, then we're just going to break out of this loop. So that's why we're never actually going to go through all the loops that it's going to be set to. Then we're going to do a if statement saying if the num's middle value is less than the target, then we're going to set, so let's look at it, right? If the middle, let's say, is 3, and that is less than the target, which is 5, we're going to say start equals the middle, and then we will set the middle equal to the math.floor. We can just grab this. This is what we'll set it equal to. All right. And then else if, we will do the scenario of the middle is greater than target, which would just be the inverse of this. So we're just gonna do end equals middle. And then we're gonna set middle equals to the start plus end divided by 2 and the floor of that value. Okay, and then another else if. This is gonna be our final else if. The nums of middle is equal exactly to the target. We're just gonna return the middle here. So now this covers all our scenarios. Once we get it down to the point where we just have 2 numbers for our pointers, the start and end, we can break out a loop, and we're going to do some more if conditions. We're going to say if the start that we return is greater than or equal to the target, then we're going to return the starting number. So if this is greater than or equal to target, so if it's equal to here, right, we want to return that number. Else if we want to do on the condition of nums end is less than target. Okay, so now if the end is less than target, so let's say we return and the end number is 6, but our target is 7. We want to return here the end plus 1 because we want to add that space here is where we're going to put it. And then we can do just an else, and then we just want to return end. That's going to catch all other solutions like this one. So if these don't hit, then we're going to return, let's say this hits, and we have 1 and 3 as our thing, but we need to put the target 2 in there. 2 needs to get inserted at this position. So 0, 1, the 1 position, that would be our end position. And that's going to be our solution. So we can go ahead and run this, see if we get any errors or if it works. We got an error. Oh, just put nums with 2 ends. All right, and those all submitted, so we can submit that. And there we go, we got 100. So if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. Otherwise, happy coding.